It happened over the weekend. Dana White says he's retired. You were the undisputed champion. How are you feeling a few days after?
I mean, to be honest, I would have rather fought for it, of course. I did defend the interim though, which is a weird thing as well. To be honest, I always saw myself as a champion anyway. I think the whole Jon Jones thing was a bit weird. I think everybody can see that was a bit of a strange situation. But luckily now that is in the past and we can move on. Go.
The animosity between Tom Aspinall and Jon Jones has risen following a heated Instagram live in which Aspinall addressed Jones directly. The two have not fought, and their heavyweight career timelines hardly overlap. However, their antagonism has intensified in recent weeks as reports of a historic UFC event at the White House spread. The conflict between the current heavyweight champion and the former champion is not motivated by personal history, but by what they each represent. Aspinall represents the division's future, but Jones remains the name that carries more weight than any belt.
What a perfect time for Jon Jones to come out of retirement and fight Tom Aspinall at the White House next year for America's 250th birthday. What is more patriotic, what is more American than the best UFC fighter of all time, Jon Jones, fighting for the championship belt at the White House on America's 250th birthday? It's beautiful, it's poetic, it's perfect.
President Donald Trump made waves when he openly recommended that the UFC construct an octagon on the White House lawn for a special event in 2026 to commemorate the United States' 250th anniversary of independence. Dana White, who has a lengthy history with Trump, answered positively, adding, "I love it," when questioned about the potential. The UFC has not acknowledged or disputed the idea, but has stated that further details would be given later. Trump's plan, which was initially viewed as a publicity stunt, has taken on new significance with Jones' apparent approbation of the concept and his continued re-entry into the UFC drug testing pool.
UFC White House is crazy, dude. How's that even a thing? Is that allowed? How is Donald even allowed to do that? It'd be kind of gangster though. Chandler versus McGregor, it'd be kind of gangster. Aspinall, Jon Jones wants to fight on it. Classic. Back in the testing pool after 2 weeks. Bro is a troll and a half. He's not having his title back. That just can't be happening. All the round trip would be sick.
Jones, who had retired following his victory over Stipe Miocic at UFC 309, responded to a fan-created digital image of him defeating Aspinall inside the White House, with Trump sitting close. AC Graphics posted the image, and it rapidly attracted popularity. And it was here that Jones responded, "I like this," which many interpreted as an indication that he was not just watching but also thinking about the fight. The tweet quickly went viral, with comments imploring the UFC to hold the bout and calling for Jones to complete his legacy by defeating the British champion. Jones and Trump have known each other for many years. Jones was invited to Trump's inauguration, along with Jorge Masvidal, Colby Covington, and Joe Rogan. Trump was seated cage-side at UFC 309 and engaged in a passionate conversation with Jones following his first-round submission victory against Miocic.
I would even say this, and I don't know if this is controversial or not, but I would say that Jon Jones ducked Tom Aspinall so hard that he went through self-destructive measures just to avoid a fight with this man. That's how good Tom Aspinall is. And everyone you're going to list off is going to get beat.
We'll see.
Trump is a regular attendee at UFC events and has exploited his friendship with Dana White and the company to attract audiences that share his political views. And if any American president has the desire and connections to organize a White House UFC event, it is Trump. Dana White, who spoke at both of Trump's campaign conventions, has demonstrated a willingness to embrace spectacle and controversy, making the concept feasible from both a promotional and logistical aspect.
As much as I love Tom and I want Tom to win, I couldn't pick against Jon Jones. I'll be honest, Tom's a friend. I love Tom. He's one of the coolest dudes in the whole of MMA. Even though Jones is getting old, I just can't pick against Jon Jones. I've been watching Jon Jones, as I say, since 2000.
Jones' comeback would not be immediate. According to USADA rules, he must remain in the testing pool for 6 months before being permitted to participate again. Jones re-entered the pool in mid-2025. Therefore, his earliest return date would be January 2026. This is consistent with the likely schedule of the White House event. If the UFC follows through on Trump's request, Jones will be eligible for a summer 2026 card, possibly on July 4th. Meanwhile, Tom Aspinall has the heavyweight title and is officially recognized as the undisputed champion following Jones' retirement.
It's the legacy. To be able to go to the heavyweight division, take out everyone, and then take out the John Jones legend, and then go back to even beating a few of these new school guys, will literally put Tom Aspinall as the GOAT of the heavyweight division.
Aspinall first won the temporary championship in November 2023, defeating Sergey Pavlovich in the first round. He was anticipated to unify the belt against Jones, but the fight never happened. Instead, Jones concentrated on his legendary fight against Myasic. Jones hinted at additional huge fights after defeating MIAs, but he eventually retired in early 2025, leaving the division in limbo. Shortly after, Aspinall was declared the unquestioned champion. Despite being the acknowledged champion, some have seen Aspinall's position as incomplete owing to the lack of a bout against Jones. Aspinall addressed this in an interview with Combat X, rejecting the suggestion that Jones had stolen some of his prime. It's not all been bad because, to be honest, I don't feel like I'm in my prime yet, he told me. I feel like I still have some work to do before I get there. I'm still only 32. Aspinall stressed that he hopes to peak in his mid-30s and that the delay may have aided his development as a boxer.
Tom Aspinall, and the gap between Tom and the rest of the division is pretty freaking wide.
Yeah, and it's almost like John has something against Tom Aspinall. Like he just wanted to completely ruin his life in every way possible, and he's doing a great job of it. And yeah, it puts Tom in a tough spot. Like you say, he's definitely the biggest loser of this whole thing. And yeah, it makes it difficult now for him to, like, where does he go?
Aspinall's calm and reasonable demeanor contrasts with how fans and the media have seen the division. Since Jones' promotion to heavyweight, the title image has been chaotic. Francis Ngannou departed the UFC as champion. Jones arrived and instantly won the vacant belt, while Aspinall emerged as a contender during this period of transition. Many people expected the UFC to schedule Jones versus Aspinall as the final battle to settle the division, but that never occurred. This unresolved storyline has become a source of tension for both fighters, who are aware that the other is being used as a measuring stick.
That would be beyond disappointing, actually. From a marketing standpoint, from a landscape of where the UFC is standpoint, that would be a complete pay-per-view disaster.
We'd see the strength of the UFC brand at Madison Square Garden if that ends up being, because all respect to Tom, but he has never headlined a pay-per-view, so plopping him at the top of Madison Square Garden against Cyril Gane, I think would be tough, but we'll see what they can do.
Man, that would be tough. I mean, you'd have to have.
Jones has remained a heavyweight contender even after retiring. Aspinall has responded by focusing on moving forward. When he was upgraded to full champion, he wrote, "For you fans, it's time to get this heavyweight division moving. An active, indisputable champion." The phrase was interpreted as a covert jab at Jones' inaction. Jones has only made one heavyweight championship defense, defeating Myasic, and has spent the most of his time in the division either injured or in talks.
And the fans shouldn't even have to make a petition to strip John Jones of the belt. That just shows you how dumb the UFC matchmaking is, especially when it comes to John Jones and all the way that the UFC operates around John Jones. The way that John Jones has Dana and the organization by the nuts is crazy.
Aspinall is scheduled to make his maiden championship defense later this year, with Cyril Gane and Alexander Volkov among the contenders. Neither of these hypothetical battles has the same significance or attention as a fight with Jones. The division is still in motion, but with the likelihood of a White House battle, any title defenses Aspinall makes in the meanwhile will be considered as stepping stones to a greater, more significant confrontation. The scenario also raises concerns about Jones's physical health following such an extended absence. If he returns in 2026, he will have been idle for almost 2 years. While Jones has demonstrated the capacity to win after long layoffs, most notably in his return versus Myasic, Aspinall provides a unique challenge. Aspinall, who is younger, faster, and more energetic, possesses traits that match up well against Jones, particularly in today's competitive and diverse heavyweight landscape.
And say, no, you're not going to take this. And do you know what John Jones did? You have it. I don't want to fight. You can have it. This is unbelievable. The greatest of all time. What a load of shit. I'm sorry. Never going to call that him the GOAT. Ever again. Because being the greatest of all time is not just about winning. And that's what John Jones doesn't understand. It's about how you conduct yourself throughout the whole of your career. Are you willing to fight the biggest challenges, the biggest tests? Go in there and test yourself.
Jones' reputation has always been based on domination, not action. He has fought just 4 fights since 2019. In contrast, Aspinall has quickly created a resume of fast finishes and consistent performances. He has also become a fan favorite in the United Kingdom, where he is seen as the country's best hope for a long-term heavyweight champion. The prospect of an American legend facing a British champion on the White House grounds adds an international dimension to the UFC's most high-profile prospective battle.
Is John Jones scared to fight you?
Yes. John is conning the public. The fact that he didn't want to fight Ngannou for 3 years and now he's not wanting to fight me for over a year.
Is that fight fucking happening?
The UFC are saying that it's going to happen. I think it's down to him and Dana.
Dana loves John Jones.
He's trying to grease up his ego a little bit.
Dana White and the UFC are certainly aware of the fight's significance in both marketing and sport. A White House event would generate major media coverage, political discussion, and international buzz. Jones' involvement would lend it historical significance. Aspinall's participation would give it a competitive edge. No other UFC matchup strikes the same balance of narrative, stakes, and unpredictability.
You know, that's the hard thing about giving opinions on this, because it's just opinions. Like, we don't know the facts of what's going on behind the scenes. We don't know what's been said from John's side or Aspinall's side, and you know, I do give to Aspinall the benefit of the doubt, believing that, you know, if he didn't think the John Jones fight was going to happen, like, he probably would have taken another fight. You know, where we're comparing it with the Chandler situation. You know, it felt to me,
the UFC hasn't had an event in Washington, D.C. since 2019, when Alistair Overeem's team battled Jairzinho Rozenstruik. An event at the White House would necessitate huge logistical changes, including approval from several government agencies and coordination between political and sporting authorities. Trump's personal involvement, as well as his relationship with Dana White and John Jones, making it more likely than if the idea originated elsewhere. Trump has previously used the UFC as a cultural tool and is expected to promote the event as part of his 2026 campaign, whether he is in power or not.
Hey USA, what's new with you? Kinda weird, but Trump wants to host a UFC fight in the White House. I have so many questions, but let's start with why. So next year in 2026 is our 250th birthday. And because of that, Trump wants to make a huge celebration and he wants to make it unforgettable. So he was like, how about we hold a UFC fight in the White House? And UFC is okay with that? Well, yeah, Trump is good friends with Dana White, who is the boss of UFC. Back in 2001, Trump helped Dana White and let him use his casino, Trump Taj Mahal, to host a UFC event.
Chito Vera's comments regarding John Jones and Tom Aspinall added to an already heated argument in the UFC heavyweight class. When asked directly if Jones is afraid to fight Tom Aspinall, Vera gave a clear answer: no. His conclusion was based on the weight of Jones' heritage rather than a study of current talent or stylistic clashes.
It's Aspinall's fight. I mean, we've been talking to this kid forever about it, and it's his fight. Listen, you can't make people fight. If John doesn't want to fight, you can't make him fight. We can try to make him fight. We can throw things at him that inspire him to want to fight, but we'll figure it out.
Vera claims Jones does not need to face Aspinall. He has already cemented his position in history. Jones' exploits, which include being the youngest champion in UFC history and holding the light heavyweight championship for nearly a decade, are unparalleled in the opinion of many competitors and pundits. Vera believes that the absence of a duel against Aspinall does not diminish Jones' accomplishments.
But he's like the longest running heavyweight champion in the history of the UFC, isn't he? But he's only he hasn't fought anyone.
I don't think it's going to happen, you know. I think John gets a lot of money
for being champion. I think the sponsors and that are paying him a fortune, and I think he's just dragging along, keeping the belt as long as possible because it's worth that much money to him. I mean, John's often struggled with tall people who are good boxers. I imagine he'd probably, if he did fight him, he would.
He does not need to fight Aspinall. He accomplished everything. Vera spoke on the Makeshift podcast. He battled during his prime. He won the belt, the youngest ever. He has never lost his belt. Vera acknowledged Jones' troubles outside of the octagon, but highlighted that nobody is flawless. Vera defended Jones' choice to walk away before a unification match with the interim champion, saying he should be able to retire at any time.
Hey, I'm Scott Johnson, host of Going Ringside Now. John Jones may be coming out of retirement for the chance to be involved in the White House UFC fight on the next 4th of July. John Bones Jones putting on X that, he's re-entered the testing pool. This only lasted about 2 weeks.
That viewpoint, while held by some, is not universal. Former UFC welterweight champion Leon Edwards boldly predicted Jones' defeat if he faced Aspinall. His perspective differs from Vera's, showing a schism between fighters and fans on Jones' choice to retire. On the one hand, it is viewed as a wise decision for a combatant to go away while on top. On the other hand, it is understood as a retreat from a formidable opponent who does not yet have a legendary reputation.
What would it take to fight Tom Aspinall from the UFC? Like, what does the UFC got to do?
Set something real wild on off the cuff. I'll see you guys later.
That's it.
Yeah,
right.
Thanks for the happy
John
beer.
Jones, the legend.
Israel Adesanya thinks Jones will fight again. He cited Jones' social media activity as evidence that his retirement may be transitory. Speaking on the Ariel Helwani show, Adesanya remarked, "I believe he will return. It is the drama of it." He cited tweets and internet activity that indicate Jones is still involved with the sport. What are the kids calling it? Rage baiting. It's working, he remarked, referring to Jones' continued speculation without making any public pronouncements.
John Jones just got up and left after this Nelk interview. This has to be a joke. Surely Dana is going to have to strip John Jones because this can't keep happening. Like, you're the heavyweight champion, it's your job to defend the belt. And if you don't want to defend it, then retire. It's so strange to me. It's strange how the UFC keeps defending him. He's still the heavyweight champion but won't fight. And what is he expecting by going on all of these media tours when people bring up the question of Tom Aspinall? Like, he's on a media tour.
Adesanya also expressed concern over Jones holding up the division. Tom defended the belt. This is a defense of his book. Allow the division to keep moving. The statement acknowledges that, while Jones' absence has caused uncertainty, Aspinall is actively working to restore stability by competing on a regular basis. In contrast to Jones' solitary title defense at heavyweight, Aspinall has announced ambitions to fight at least twice before the end of the year. His probable opponents include Jelton Almeida, Cyril Gane, and Alexander Volkov. The contests may not have the name recognition of a Jones fight, but they demonstrate Aspinall's commitment to be active and present.
Why is he a coward in the octagon? When John Jones was building up his career on trying to become a legend, going through the whole roster, he was beating guys who were on the way out while he was in his prime. A young lion on the way up, right? And he was beating guys who were pretty much on the way out. However, John Jones, you're such a scared coward that you won't give the same opportunity that the legends gave you to Tom Aspinall. What do I mean by that? Well, guys,
regardless of whether Jones is fearful or justified in his retirement, UFC President Dana White revealed new information that complicates the story. At the UFC 316 post-fight press conference, White announced that Jones has accepted a bout against Aspinall. This information alters the retirement slightly. According to White, Jones agreed to fight Aspinall, but subsequently changed his mind and decided to leave the sport. That single decision changed the course of the heavyweight division, transforming the championship from an active rivalry to a succession by default.
Donald Trump just said that he wants to hold a UFC event at the White House next year for America's 250th birthday. And not just any UFC event, he wants to hold a championship UFC event at the White House next year. And this got me thinking, what a perfect time for John Jones to come out of retirement and fight Tom Aspinall at the White House next year for America's 250th.
White did not elaborate on what prompted Jones' change of heart, but the knowledge revealed that the fight was closer to reality than previously thought. Jones' history of withdrawing from fights, whether due to injuries, contract conflicts, or personal reasons, is not new. The similar pattern emerged during his stint at light heavyweight, as expected fights with contenders such as Anthony Johnson never happened. However, Aspinall's perception differs. The British champion is seen as both the next logical opponent and a real stylistic threat.
Since the fight will never happen, gun to my head, I would have said Jon Jones will beat him right now. I would have said he'll probably beat him right now. Because guess why? Tom has never been pushed into those championship rounds. But if Tom gets to those once he gets to those championship rounds, even now, say Cyril Gane pushes him 25 minutes. And if he beats Cyril Gane, but he learns to go 25 minutes where that first time you feel that, I gotta get up off that stool after the third round. Yo, Tom hasn't gotten off the stool.
So, do you believe this fight will eventually happen? Please share your opinions below and subscribe for future updates.